Let's be honest, Arsenal were lucky. Yeah, they won 2-0 against Olympiacos, but don't let that scoreline fool you. This wasn't dominance, it was survival. And if Arsenal play like this against Europe's big boys, they're getting exposed. Tonight's performance was full of tactical blunders that Olympiacos simply weren't good enough to punish. Now before the Arsenal fans start typing essays in the comments, let's look at the facts. Martinelli scored early, sure, and Saka finished it off late. But in between those two goals, Arsenal looked shaky, lost in midfield, and one step away from gifting Olympiacos an equaliser. This wasn't a clinical, confident Champions League win, it was messy. And honestly, Olympiacos walked away thinking they could have had more. But before we get into Arsenal's biggest tactical issues, make sure you hit that subscribe button to SportsStream Hub, where we don't sugarcoat football, we tell it exactly how it is. Let's start with the midfield, because honestly, that's where Arsenal almost threw this game away. But here's the problem, they couldn't control the tempo. Olympiacos pressed aggressively. Olympiacos actually found joy in those pockets. They had one goal chalked off for offside, and if that run was timed better, Arsenal would have been punished. Against Bayern or Madrid, that's a guaranteed goal. So instead of dictating play, Arsenal's midfield was chasing shadows for large parts of the game. That's not a good sign for a team with ambitions of going deep in the Champions League. Now let's talk about the backline. Arsenal's defence loves to push high, and it works in the Premier League because most teams sit back. But in Europe, you can't give that much space behind your defence. Olympiacos exploited it, long balls over the top, runners breaking in behind. Arsenal looked vulnerable every single time. David Raya had to make a massive save just to keep it 1-0. And that's the thing, Olympiacos don't have world-class strikers. But imagine this same setup against Holland, Vinicius Jr., or even Lautaro Martinez. One mistake and Arsenal are finished. It's one thing to play brave football, but this was reckless. Olympiacos didn't punish them, but better teams will. Let's move up the pitch, because Arsenal's attack wasn't as sharp as the scoreline suggests. After Martinelli's early strike, they lost creativity. The possession looked nice on paper, lots of sideways passes, but no cutting edge. Olympiacos sat compact and Arsenal had no plan B. Nketiah barely got a sniff, Martinelli faded after his goal, and without Bukayo Saka's late introduction, Arsenal might have actually ended the game sweating over a 1-0 lead. For a team that wants to compete with Europe's elite, that lack of ruthlessness is worrying. You can't dominate possession for 70 minutes and create almost nothing. That's the same old Arsenal problem we've seen before. And then there's the substitutions. Arteta brought on Saka, and surprise surprise, Saka scored. But let's call it what it is, Arsenal needed their best player to bail them out because the system wasn't working. That tells you everything. If Olympiacos had managed to equalise, Arsenal were out of ideas. It wasn't tactical genius that secured this win, it was individual quality. And that's where Arsenal's flaws get exposed. Relying on moments rather than structure is dangerous. It works against Olympiacos, but against Europe's heavyweights, that approach falls apart. So, what does this all mean? Yes, Arsenal are in a strong position in the group stage. Yes, a win is a win. But don't let the 2-0 result blind you. This game showed us the cracks. Midfield imbalance. Defensive overconfidence. A lack of killer instinct in attack. And too much reliance on individual brilliance. Olympiacos are a good side, but they're not world-class. Arsenal made them look more dangerous than they actually are. And if Arsenal don't fix these issues quickly, they won't last long in Europe when the knockout rounds come. So I'll ask you this, was this a strong performance by Arsenal, or were they just lucky Olympiacos didn't take their chances? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I want to know if you agree or if you think I'm being too harsh. And don't forget, if you want more raw, unfiltered football breakdowns, subscribe to SportsStream Hub right now. No hype, no bias, just the real story behind the game. See you in the next one.